Hello, people, and welcome back to another episode of the Autobahn podcast. I am here by Sam, and I'm also joined by Kojo, who just came out of prison. So, I mean, fresh on, fresh on. What are you saying?
I'm good. By the way, guys, he's joking. I'm not an offender. I'm not a convict. I'm a good man.
I wish I was
He's
joking, but
locked up. No, they're not gonna let him out. He's locked up.
I'm not actually joking. He's actually an offender, but in our bounds, we allow people to rehab over here. So, I'm all a fan of opportunities to get your career back on track. So, anyways, as you can see, we've had another week of sport. If you're a City, Arsenal fan, you're probably happy. If you're a United, Chelsea fan, then you're probably in the mud. But as you know, yesterday we had the Twitter Classical, Arsenal versus United, which was a very, very entertaining game to say the least. Which Arsenal won 3-1. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I don't think I celebrated as much as they did when Chelsea won the Champions League. But I'm not a celebration police, so those small-minded people can do what they want. Saying that, as I said, that game did happen yesterday, and there was a lot of controversy that happened throughout the game. I'm just going to ask you guys before we take a deep dive into all the individual stuff. What did you guys think of the game as a whole?
I thought it was a good game, man. It was very intense. That's something we expect from a game like Arsenal and United. It's very tense. I thought Arsenal were the better team, obviously. No surprise. Not in possession. But we're knocking on the door. I kind of expect United's game plan to kind of soak up pressure and hit on the counter attack. And for good portions, it worked for them, obviously. Nice goal from Rashford. It was fed by a wonderful ball from Ericsson. Obviously, it was just small margins which kind of decided the defeat for United, obviously, with that, VR intervening with Garnacho's goal. And obviously, VR intervening with also potentially getting the winner, obviously, with Havertz as a penalty claim. But overall, I thought it was quite a good game. There was a lot of drama, a lot of tension. Yeah, it led up to the Super Sunday hype. I think Arsenal, obviously, in reality, I think if you're talking on the balance of play, you could say Arsenal was a better team, but they weren't clinical, so I felt like the game really should have ended as a draw. But fair to Arsenal, they got their luck. They took advantage of it. They deflected the goal from Rice, and then obviously United already down and out, and then literally the defense was gaping, and then literally that ball from Fabio Vieira just literally was a silver deal to find Jesus, which sent my man a lot shopping to the shops, and obviously it was game over. But yeah, it was a good game. Nothing on the contenders to be the game of the season yet, but it was an enjoyable contest.
Yeah, I echo a bit of what Kojo said. Sorry about the noise for the
Hey,
police.
Coach, they're coming for you.
They're heading towards Kojo, so just be aware. In terms of the game, I don't think it was a great quality in terms of both sides. I think there was a lot of pressure on both teams. We saw United having a lot of possession in their own half. And obviously Arsenal, they had possession, but they wasn't really doing too much with it. And the goal that Man United scored is United-esque. And this is what, Ten Hag how he wants to play. Because when you think of Ten Hag, you think like total football, nice football. But he's always said he wants his team to be the best team in transition in the world. And that's what they did. Ericsson stopped the pass, got the ball, gave it straight to Rashford, and a great finish. I think even though Arsenal played better and might have had the better chances, I do think it was harsh on United to lose, to be honest. I think the game did deserve to be a draw. Like everyone said, the Declan Rice situation, the goal, it was a deflection. Onana tried his best, but he wasn't able to obviously save it. And then the third goal, when you're already 2-1 down, a couple minutes left in the game, as any team would do, you're going to attack. And as you've got so many people forward, you're going to have, less defenders. And Jesus did what he had to do. Like Kojo said, he sent Dallo to the shops. He's still probably there, still probably sliding there, or he's at a water park right about now, or something like that. And then it was a great finish from Jesus. So the 3-1 victory kind of masks what the real result should have been. But nevertheless, Arsenal got their 3 points. And like Rich was saying, Arsenal fans were celebrating like they just won the league or they'd reached the Champions League final. So it just shows you how big the game was for Arsenal compared to how everyone else was looking at it. But all in all, a good game. Wouldn't say it was game of the season, but it is what it is.
Bro, your mic, it's not on, bro. It's not working. No audio.
Oh, my bad. I said what I was saying is agenda aside, I can understand why Arsenal did celebrate like that. I think it's one of those things, as you said, that this game was massive for Arsenal because you look at the scene they had last season, and you expect the next step is to go and win the league. And if you start dropping points in games like this, which I believe they've dropped points, yeah, they dropped points against Fulham earlier in the season as well.
Mhm.
That really pushed you off the pace of Man City, so you don't want to be dropping too many games earlier on as well. And I won't say I would say Arsenal didn't deserve to win because I do feel like United maybe did have it was a bit of an end to end thing. But I think it was a thing whereas in when you start looking at statistics with Arsenal more possession, XG, blah blah, you feel like Arsenal dominated that game, which they didn't. But I think it comes to the thing of your star players turning up. Now, obviously, I don't think Saka particularly played well, but he
Yeah.
hasn't played well for like God knows how many months now. I mean, towards the end of last season and the beginning of this season, he's been stinking up, but he's God's child, so they're gonna let him
I
go.
think he did
Um,
have a good game against Forest in the first game of the season.
But I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Rich
So
said
that's only
against big teams,
no,
you
I'm
have to
just
play.
saying, no, but even if that no, but even if that's the case, I think we've played 4 Premier League games. I think he's been shitting 3 of them, and the only one that apparently has been good, and I didn't even watch it. So, but that's not my point. I think my point is I feel like Martinelli did play relatively well, and I feel like Odegaard played well. But then when you look on the other side, I don't think Bruno played well. I feel like it's the thing I've been talking about with Bruno time and time again. The only reason I'll say Bruno is good, is a good player, is just because of the numbers. His performances for me, it stinks.
Mm.
And I thought it was good last season, but I feel like this season he's reverted back to his ways, and I feel like he got played off the park by Odegaard. Rashford as well, obviously he got the goal, but he stunk as well. I feel like he stunk throughout the game as well. And I've said it before, if Bruno and Rashford are your core piece of the club, United are not winning any league title. I think if you were to sell them, United could possibly get worse, but they could also possibly get better to the point of winning the league title. But with both of them, you're not winning no league. And obviously, you're gonna have to look at the Ten Hag factor as well, because when you've now won 0 games away from home against the top 9 from last season, I'm sorry, that's just more than the players' issue. The manager's
Mm,
gonna have to take a big
yeah.
look at himself because you sign all these players. I mean, obviously, I understand why people say Glazers out, but then it's not a situation where they don't spend money because they're also still one of the
Even
highest
that,
spenders in the
yeah.
league as
I
well.
think
So
I think they had the second most net spend after Chelsea.
yeah, so I mean, you spend like 100 odd million on Anthony. He's not really giving. Even though I don't think yesterday is one of the worst. He's not. I mean, and this is standard for Anthony. I don't even think yesterday is one of his worst performances, given the performance he's put in the United shirt.
I hear that, bro. But when you spend 100 million on a player, same with Mudryk, you expect that player to come into the team and make a difference there and then. There's no grace period like, oh, you need 18 months. Like
Well,
back in the
two
day,
things I would say is that's different from the situation. Is one, really and truly, is Mudryk was 62 million, and number two, Mudryk has only started 7 games,
I
which
think
is
Mudryk
on
was
and
really
off. So,
88. Mudryk was really 88, not
so
62.
we're not counting add-ons over here.
No, the 88, then that's when it went to 100. That's why he's really
No,
88.
no, the fee is
No, it was
62.
overall.
He was
No,
88
it's
overall.
It was 88
yeah,
overall. Yeah.
it's
Well,
62 and then the add-ons take it. But that's not even the point. So I just said, and on Arsenal's side, as I said, I do feel like they were slightly the better team. Obviously, the stats will show they were much better. But at the end of the day, at least their captain was able to step up. Martin Odegaard, I feel like he was phenomenal. He bossed the park, and real captain performance. So I don't know if I can go back and say that there will be tighter challenges again because, as I said, they haven't started as strong as they did last season. They're not even playing as well in terms of performances, right? But you always hear about when people talk about champion performances of when you don't play particularly well and you're still able to grind out the results. And obviously, you had the Declan Rice goal, which a goal changes everything. Because I know why people said he was world class, but I'm not really sure. But he still had an impact, and obviously the Jesus goal because everyone pushed forward. So, yeah, that's kind of my takeaway from the whole game and stuff and what this puts forward. Obviously, I'm going to contrast these two teams later, but I just want to ask you guys because it's now 4 games, 1 win, 2 losses, and a draw. And it looks like with all the signings that Chelsea have made, they're on the back foot again. And it looks like we definitely won't be challenging. Where do you guys see the biggest issue with Chelsea at the moment?
Uh,
I'll let the Chelsea fan go first.
Part-time Chelsea fan. I'll say on chest. I don't
Hey,
even,
hey. You're excluded from the fan base. We don't do part timers over here.
yeah, whatever.
So
Whatever.
choose your side now.
Yeah. Look, I don't even know where to start with Chelsea. All right, cool. All right. For me, like I said a couple weeks ago, yeah, I'm gonna reiterate this. Obviously, you guys all. I said one of the biggest problems with Chelsea defensively. I don't think we're as strong as we've been in recent years. For me, is it Levi Colwill? Is that his name or Colwill?
Yeah.
Colwill. Yeah, Levi Colwill. Look, he had a few good games for Brighton last season. Showed some potential. Everyone's getting excited. He had a good Euros, yeah, under 21s, international. And now everyone's saying, oh, yes, he should be starting something for Chelsea coming into pre-season and whatnot. Right, cool. And so far, I don't think he's had a good game in any of the first opening 4 games. And I'm not going to berate him too much because obviously he's still young. He's still learning. But for me, the matter of the fact is he shouldn't really be starting for Chelsea. Chelsea should have got another centre-back. Another high-profile centre-back.
We did.
I hear what you're saying, yeah, but also when you've actually played, you started with a 3, but then when Poch hasn't seen that's working, you've gone to a back 4, and Colwill has played left back, which is not necessarily his best position. As we've seen, we see Chilwell playing on the left wing, and I saw a certain man that's on this screen here saying he don't want to see Chilwell playing left wing again, Richard.
Right.
And I respect that because he's not that, but I was just saying maybe that's why you might not have seen the best from Colwill because he's playing left back.
Maybe so. Obviously, I'm not going to be too harsh on him because, obviously, I did like what I saw from him on the Euros and whatnot, but even that's international. I'm not going to compare the international game to the domestic game, but that's one of the root of the problems here. Defensively, Chelsea have the best structure and the best identity to have a team which can keep your defense resolute and compact. The fullbacks, again, James is injured. Chilwell, for me, is a good fullback, but I don't think he's the best defensively. Again, if you look at them for the reason, Conor Gallagher's not good enough for this team. I'm very annoyed we couldn't, sell him in the transfer window. Do you know what I'm saying? And all this time, we couldn't really get the right offer that we demanded to sell him. So I think the midfield for me, obviously, is good. We refurbished that with Caicedo. He hasn't really kicked on the first 3 games. I think first 3 games because he started against West Ham, played last week against Luton. Yeah, 3 games. He hasn't really kicked on yet, which is a bit surprising because you played in the Premier League for 2 seasons now. It's not like you're coming from La Liga or Bundesliga, and obviously it's a different setup. You're playing in the Premier League, so realistically, I expect you to get going, right? So the midfield hasn't really clicked yet. The defensive thing is shaky. Goal scoring has been the most evident problem here. Chelsea create chances and play good football. This has been a thing with Chelsea where we play good football, create good chances, right? But we just can't finish. But the golden opportunity in the second half with Nico Jackson, and he skies it over the bar. Now I'm not going to berate him too tough because he scored. Fair enough, you got off the mark against Luton. He had a good game. I'm not going to get onto him too tough. But at the same time, you have these opportunities as a Premier League player at home. In these moments, you're supposed to kind of finish and compose yourself and get back into the game. And you just don't take the opportunity. So for me, with Chelsea, again, it's just simple. Scoring seems to be an issue. Defensively, we've gone weaker. We haven't really kind of amended that problem, really, right? And I'm going to say this here, yeah. You guys may think I'm being a bit too harsh here, kind of maybe being over the top. But I don't really rate Pochettino like that.
Who?
I don't really rate Mauricio Pochettino like that, personally. Okay. Like, obviously, look, for me, if we're going to be honest here, yeah, this is going to be quite a long talk, right? Cool. If we're going to be honest here, if you look at the managers that we've hired, yeah, part obviously for me, obviously, was Premier League experience with Brighton. They did a good job with Brighton. They played good football. They did some good things when he was under the tenureship with Graham Potter, right? But for me, I don't think he was levels enough to be the Chelsea manager. Pochettino did well with Tottenham. But we've got measure success here. With Tottenham, their success is realistic. Being in the top 4 on a consistent run, being perennial top 4 team. They got a Champions League final. They did well there, but they lost. These 2 managers didn't win anything at their clubs. And we brought them in to be the managers at Chelsea Football Club to take this team where they used to be. And obviously, yes, the first 4 games, I get that. But for me personally, I was never completely happy, with Mauricio Pochettino being at the helm of this football team.
Cool. Just a quick question. So you're not happy with Poch, yeah? If that was the case, who would you want to see as your manager at that time? Because everyone always goes.
I think Luis Enrique would have been a good appointment.
Who?
Luis Enrique. I think he would have been a good appointment.
Okay.
Because he's a winner. Okay. He's won everywhere he's gone to. I like his
Enrique. Who else? Because obviously you're always going to compete against PSG, and like a lot of people think there's a plethora of great managers out, which there isn't. So once that person not interested, what's the next pull? Like, I think if you want to be like a progressive team, you're gonna have to give certain up and coming managers that opportunity. I.e., Brighton gave a De Zerbi opportunity. Yes, he's never managed at a big club, so Swallow and Shakhtar Donetsk, but you have to give some of them that opportunity.
But no, the thing is,
Oh, can I say one thing quickly?
Obviously.
Wait, can I just say one thing? But what Sam said about if you're going to have an upcoming team, you have to give these new up-and-coming managers to build with them. But then it's kind of the reason why I did want Poch in the first place, because I felt like, apart from just club size, this kind of situation was similar to what was there at Tottenham, whereas you've got a bunch of talented young players and you want to try and get them to the top, whereas the pressure isn't... Obviously, there's going to be pressure because we're a Chelsea football club and we want what we want, so the pressure will always be higher at Chelsea than it is at Tottenham. But when you look at the situation, there isn't really that big of egos to manage anymore, and you're trying to get up-and-coming players to play. I feel like that's something that he succeeded with in the past with both Tottenham, and he did a good job at Southampton as well, which is why I was for the signing, even though I was originally against it.
No, like I wasn't saying like I detested the signing at all. I was completely, just irate once we announced Poch as the head coach at Chelsea. But my situation was that for me, I was a bit unsure if he's going to take us where we need to get to, personally. If he's going to take us back to the promised land, if he's going to bring back Chelsea back to the glory days and being a team. Because I think he's a good manager, but at the same time, he did it at teams where they're not on Chelsea's level. Tottenham are not on Chelsea's level in terms of, like what Chelsea have been the last. What's
Chelsea's level at the moment, though?
No, right now,
what's Chelsea's level? Yeah.
No, right now, yes, I agree. We've got a young team and whatnot, but you got to remember, Top Boy wants to win now, right? And Chelsea's DNA is all about winning now. When the Browns came up, he wants to win now.
I don't think Top Boy wants to win.
What I'm saying is that the team right now we've got on paper is a young team. So logically, rationally, it will take a few years for this Chelsea to really kind of get into their stride and really be a team to knock on the door, right? Yeah, I get that. But the expectations from the owners and kind of being fans in a way, because what we've been used to for the last 20 years is that we've seen Chelsea being a team which have all knocked on right now, instantly. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're used to that. And like Arsenal, the fact that Arsenal have come back into the picture, even though there's been a process with them all these years, Chelsea, because we've been a club where we've had instant success once we've had that the abundance of luxury and finances, obviously it's Roman Abramovich, we want to instantly be amongst the best. Okay. And maybe you can say we're being too entitled here, like kind of like how United fans are. But at the same time, if Chelsea want this instant success that Todd Bowley wants, that the fans are kind of used to, we're obviously going to have a reaction to what we're seeing on the pitch. And my reaction is natural from what I've seen as growing up as a Chelsea fan. But for me, honestly, what I'm saying right now, before I let you go, I'm just saying right now, obviously, I'm saying I'm not going to berate Poch too much, yeah? But what I'm saying, from what I've seen in the first 4 games, is the reason why I was not 100% sure on if he's the right appointment. Now, obviously, I can take this back, maybe 10, 15 games down the line. I can take it back. I'm very rational, and I'm very honest. I'll own up if I'm wrong, right? But from what I've seen in the first 4 games, Poch hasn't given me that much confidence. This Chelsea team this season are going to be a top 4 side, personally. But I'll let you go now and give your take.
No, cool. But I just want to go back to what you said, because it was a bit of a contradiction there, because you said Todd Bowley wants to win now. Yeah. But if we look at the signings that he's bought, they're not signings to win now. Because if I'm spending, take away add-ons, if I'm spending nearly 930 million, for example, I need to see De Bruyne, like players of De Bruyne's caliber, Hazard, Mbappe, Neymar, all those type of guys. Through all your signings, I don't see no one like that. So my thought process and how Todd Bowley's doing it, he's looking at it as a business standpoint. You remember him buying Chelsea was predicated on him doing 1.2 billion investment. He's nearly at that stage. Yeah, cool. But the players that he's bought, yes, there's potential. Yes, I'm not too sure if he wants to win straight away, but
he has other players as well, which are kind of at the high echelons.
No, who's high echelons? Enzo isn't.
Maybe there wasn't a legitimate offer, but
Enzo's always been potential. We don't know how.
Enzo's a baller.
No, but I'm saying it's still based on potential, because no one knew how good he's going to be.
No, but I'm saying but there's been reports that Chelsea have been in talks or have made offers, maybe not legitimate offers, and actually kind of
again.
Big, but we've been.
Then what that tell you? Then they don't believe in your vision. They don't believe in your vision, because if they did, they would have said let's sign up. But my point is, from the players that he's signed, he looks like he's seen this as a business. It's more like an FSG. Buy these players at a nice price point, let them perform well, and then we sell them on. Because like you bought Madueke, you bought Cole Palmer, you bought Mudryk, you bought obviously you bought Sterling, you bought hella defenders, hella midfielders, but there's no one apart from Enzo. There's no one there that I'm like, all right, cool. These guys are going to be game changers now. Everyone else is potential, and hopefully they pan out. If they don't pan out, that's 900 million.
Can I say?
Can I say?
He had 2 seasons on his belt. Looking at Sterling as well, proven Premier League winner. He's a legend when it comes to this, in terms of English football. He's very revered here. So I think there has been some sign. Obviously, they have more experience. You've got a bit of experience in your team to kind of level it out. Because obviously, experience leads to obviously results, and they can obviously influence the younger players in terms of having the mentality to be winners and to kind of have a better mentality on the pitch. But I hear what you're saying, Samuel.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't personally believe I contradict myself because I agree that Todd Bowley is obviously thinking about the future. Obviously you can.
I'm saying the players that he's bought. But I'm saying if you want to win now, you won't go and spend that amount of money on those players to win now. Unfortunately, you would.
Okay, but can I just say one thing in regards to that?
Can you question now with those players?
Okay, but let me just say one thing in regards to that because I think, but kind of what you said, because that's one of the reasons I don't really buy into the £1 billion thing. Because 2 reasons. When you look at a lot of players, it's like no, Sam, because the £1 billion players isn't like we've signed like 9 players on £1 billion where you're signing 100. We've signed bare like 30 players, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and it's easier to say that obviously you want to win now, you go and buy these kind of players, yeah. But when you think about it, the talent pool in football right now compared to what it used to be is crap.
Of
so
course.
there isn't really any like. So when you don't have those win now kind of players, because if you want to just talk about wingers and you talk about the elite wingers in the world, yeah, you've got Vinicius, you've got Salah, Salah.
Yeah.
The next names people start talking about is Martinelli and Saka. Now those are very good players, isn't it?
I wouldn't go and buy Cole Palmer though.
He's like Sam. I want to respond to that point because Rich made a very good point here, and obviously you made a point how Chelsea wants to win now. They'll buy more players in the high echelons and more football. But you got to look at it right now. Real Madrid right now, they bought Jude Bellingham for over 100 million, and he's 19 years old.
The talent pool in football right now is kind of so. Even if that's why I said that you want to go for me,
they bought
apart
Jude
from
for 19 years old. Arsenal spent over 80 million on Declan Rice. And Declan Rice is 22. That's still young. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, Declan Rice is older than 22.
How did he?
He's at least 25.
Oh, okay. Is he?
No, he's 24.
24. Oh, okay.
24, 25. I'm close.
For me, that's still the young bracket in a way. Like 25 is when you're kind of like a bit mature. Then 27 is your prime ages. But again, these were players in my eyes which are still that young category. Right?
But I'm not saying that though. My point is, you're saying you want to win now, but you're competing against Man City.
Yes, 24.
We've already got that structure in place, and we're adding players to it. So if you want to beat us, you're not. I don't think you're beating us with those signings that you've made. Like I'm not seeing those signings as anyone that I'm scared of. I'm not scared of Cole Palmer.
The goal is to
I'm not scared of
win now. Whether we're actually going to win it or not.
No, it isn't, man. I don't think that's the case. Because if that's the case,
because Todd Bowley said he wants to win now. But
if
obviously,
that's the case,
we'll have a long-term investment.
You could probably get 5 players that you spend and just go, okay, cool. I'm just gonna go boom, 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 and that's gonna. You could have bid. He might not have come, but you could have bid for 120 for Bellingham. You could have gone and got another winger.
Okay, but can I ask a question, Sam?
Yeah. Chelsea were the 3 teams which had interest in Jude Bellingham.
But wait, let me also ask the question, Sam, because and this is the point I'm coming to. So I was just saying because we signed Nicholas Jackson in it, and I feel like in terms of his overall play, I feel like Nicholas Jackson's been really well. I think his finishing is a bit iffy, but that's yeah. But that's what if you take away Lewandowski, Haaland, Harry Kane, and Osimhen, so you just count 4 of them out.
Yeah,
who is the next world-class striker in football right now?
It's very true. The pool's limited, but you have to mix it up with, okay, cool. I'm going to have to take some L's, spending more money on experienced players that the life shelf is less, but then mix it with some young players. I can't just go and buy everybody that's under 23. Like, that's not going to help.
I feel like there is a bit of a miss, because remember, that's when I tweeted that when we did sign Cole Palmer, and I'm not saying Cole Palmer is a talented player and he won't be good for us, but I said that we need another transfer ban to save us from ourselves, because at the end of the day, like even this other guy as well, as I said, the Sarsi at centre back as well. He's another player we signed because he was available. I'm not really convinced by him, and I feel like the 2 biggest issues at Chelsea is one that I think there's 2. I think one is one that we've been complaining about for like 2 years now, where it's the injury stuff with Chelsea that for some reason we don't know what the doctors are doing, because Reece James has been injury prone for like God knows how many years now, and Reece James is someone that I've said it before, the standards at Chelsea performance, which is mind-boggling because he's a right back, but the standards in our attack drop massively whenever Reece James isn't there. You see Nkunku, he was meant to be one of the key pieces in what we're doing in pre-season. He's injured as well. Noni wasn't fit to start the season. He had a little knock here and there. So I feel like that's one of the big issues in terms of our players' health. Look at Fofana already, Chalobah, Badiashile. and all these players. But I think the other one is kind of an easy fix is Poch, please, because the formation we're playing at the moment just doesn't make any sense to me. Because when this game happened against, everybody thought that we went to a five at the back, and Poch came out to tell us that it wasn't a five at the back. It's the same system we're doing in pre-season. It's just that Chilwell is playing as a left wing. I started paying attention to this game. How can you have Noni, Madueke, Mudryk, and Cole Palmer on the bench, and you've got Chilwell left wing? Like, it just doesn't make sense in all that kind of hybrid. So I feel like that's just an easy fix, and it's one of those things that obviously Chelsea won't win the league this season. I would not expect it to, but there's a way you can bridge the gap. You don't want to start falling too off the pace where everybody starts getting demoralized and then everyone starts talking about is Poch the right man for the job, is this and that. Because as I said, I was happy when Poch got, because when I first heard Poch's name, I wasn't for this appointment. Then obviously, when the more I thought about it, I was happy for when he came in it. But Chelsea, we don't do sentimental stuff. Like the Poch out brigade will start very quickly if he doesn't pan up with the thing. So I feel like it's a thing where is it, and you've spoken about Mudryk as well. Like me, I can't fully judge Mudryk until he starts getting a run of games starting week in, week out, because you can't just keep bringing him up in the last 10 minutes when we're chasing the game and expect him to work magic and change the game
I
around.
agree.
So
But at the same time, I feel like when he started last season,
I'm guessing there's something that,
much to go off.
But I'm guessing that's something that they're seeing in training that is he's not available to start, because if he was available to start, he would be starting games.
I agree with that. And even the games we did see him from last season, when you start a couple of games, I don't think for me he did much really. Like again,
he starts with 7 Premier
League
League
where he showed some sort of quality was his debut against Liverpool. Ever since that, for me,
yeah, exactly, that is true.
Season, yeah, and
I heard people saying, we got our Hazard back. That's what I heard Chelsea fans saying.
No, nobody will be Hazard.
Bro, that's what they were saying. That debut game, they said, we got Hazard back.
I know what people are saying. By the way, I'm not saying that Mudryk can't flop here, because when you sign the amount of players that Chelsea have signed, at least 30 of them are going to flop. It's just a matter of which one flops.
And this I was telling
like, some players are just going to have to flop. Because, like, all of them can't be success and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying he's not going to flop, but I just want it to be a thing where it's in give people a run out, play players where they're meant to play. Obviously, if Bajashile comes back, I want him starting straight away, because what he was doing for me towards the end of the last season was very good. Sanchez, I'm not really convinced by him, but the window's closed, so what can we do? He's going to be starting for us going forward. But I feel like the issues at Chelsea, the injuries aside, is stuff that might be quick, because Nottingham Forest and West Ham do not have more talent than Chelsea. And David Moyes and what's his name again? The manager of Nottingham Forest, begins with a C. Cooper. They're not. I don't believe they're better managers than Poch. So if a team don't have more talent,
but shout out to Nottingham Forest though. They've had a good start to the season, man.
Shout out to Nottingham Forest because they beat us. But if their manager isn't better than us and the team isn't more talented than us, then there isn't any reason that we should be getting played. I won't say played off the pot, but there isn't any reason we should get beat the way we are. So I just feel like
they had their chance. You know what I'm saying? And they took it. Chelsea get chances, but they just don't take it. And this has been the thing which has been very consistent with Chelsea for the last 3-4 years. Like it's a very common thing, bro. Like it's not new. We know Chelsea can't finish. And I'm telling you this, Richard. Yeah, as a Chelsea fan, I know you love this club, but you just got to kind of accept the situation. Chelsea can't finish. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you can't finish your chances, you're not going to score goals. As simple as that. If you're not playing, you're not going to score goals. Because you can create chances, bro. If you're not putting them in the net, if you're not converting them, you're not going to win games. And that's the same thing with Chelsea. Chelsea create a lot of chances. They play good football. That's never the problem we've had as Chelsea fans, that the team can't play good football or the team can't create opportunities. We create opportunities.
I think West Ham in the first half of the play, but I don't think we played well.
Good. And the team is young as well. I mean, my manager, for me, he doesn't really have a winning mentality. Forget PSG, because any manager's going to go and win with PSG having abundance in that league. Let's not count that. But these are the things which are contributing to Chelsea's failure at the moment. A manager which, for me, okay, I'm not going to go to manager right now, but you've got a team which is young, a team which can't score, a team which is shaky defensively, and a team which really, starting the season, that doesn't have that much continuity with each other. These are the things which are contributing to Chelsea's failure. And it's just simple.
So I've got to ask, obviously, because these are two teams that have fallen from grace with Chelsea United. Which team do you feel like are in bigger trouble or have more struggles?
It has to be United. Because with United, this has been going for very long now. You know, this has been going for roughly around 8-9 seasons. But I'll say 2014, 2015, we've seen United kind of we're in a state, where the football's not really good. There's no real clear progression for United. You don't know what they're actually going to do this season. The fact that Manchester United for so long on the side, Alex. Let's look at it this way. When the Premier League began, the inception of the Premier League in 1992, right? I know other teams have done this, right? This is the greatest of Manchester United. This is why I can respect United, and this is why their fans have so much arrogance, and they can sing that song 20 times about United. But if I just deep it, from 1992 to 2013, for 21 seasons or so, United compete for the Premier League in every single season. They were competitive for the Premier League for every single season. And now this
every single season though. In that run, there was like 5 seasons that weren't competitive because Chelsea was running away with it. When Chelsea was winning. When Chelsea won their back-to-back, United was smelly. Ferguson couldn't compete with Mourinho. So that's already 2 out.
No, but they were like, no, you're right. They weren't like neck and neck in those seasons, but so when Chelsea won the Premier League in 4-5, United finished third, but they're only 7 points behind Chelsea that season. 5-6, they finished second, and they only, I think, maybe I don't know the exact points, but they weren't more than 10 points. Chelsea was a better team, but they weren't more than 10 points away. They all stayed in the top tier, and they stayed within like a single-digit gap between the eventual Premier League winners.
But don't let that fool you. That's like Arsenal, though, because Arsenal single-digit behind us, but it could have been more. But we run a league with 3 games to spare, so the points gap isn't
still competitive though. That season, who won the league? Arsenal.
Who? Wait, last season?
When Chelsea won the league, obviously, it's not joking. But when Chelsea won the first league title in 2005,
I don't think Arsenal, they were. I don't think Chelsea. I don't think Man United was under those Mourinho years. United weren't competitive at all. Like the numbers might say that, but again, United were winning. Chelsea were winning the league with like 3-4 games to spare. So what am I playing for? So the numbers.
No, you're right. But you're right. Well, the 6 they returned to grace and obviously won the Premier League title. And obviously that was the first of the 3-peat. But the basic thing I'm saying here is that if you look at from the inception of the Premier League, maybe apart from maybe 1 or 2 seasons, obviously during Chelsea's historic run when they first won the Premier League title and whatnot, United were competing for the Premier League, right? So their fans are used to this sort of success where they are competitive. They win the league or they finish in second, right? Now, if you look at this last 8-9 years, they've fallen from this massively, and they spent a lot of money. They spent over $1 billion in 9 years. They've got at least 4 or 5 managers, winners: Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Eric Ten Hag won at Ajax, multiple Eredivisie, taken into the Champions League final. They've got managers with pedigree. They've got managers which have won stuff. They've got managers which have been in Europe, have honours, or done amazing seasons in Europe, right? So the fact that United, to expectation from where they fell off after Sir Ferguson, for being competitive for almost 20 years and winning so many titles, the fact they're going to almost over a decade without winning the Premier League title, almost a decade without being competitive, for me, United are a worse situation, and they're not even playing good football. Chelsea, you can say, we used to Chelsea, been 4 or 5 years where Chelsea have fallen off. 4 or 5 years where Chelsea have fallen off for what they used to be. Do you know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's been 8 years that we lost one league title, but it's been around 4 or 5 years that Chelsea have kind of fallen off drastically from what we've seen Chelsea be within the past 21 years since their emergence under Roman Abramovich when he took over. But United's more of a big situation because they spent more money. They're a bigger club. They're not playing good football. There's more turmoil and dispute within the ownership of the club. So for me, this is obviously more of a serious downfall, more of a serious blame for United compared to Chelsea.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Cole just. But I feel like United are definitely in the worst position because, as I said, it's one of those things that even though we change owners and I might not agree with everything Todd Bowley might be doing at Chelsea, I think he's clearly shown ambition that obviously he wants to win. He might not have made the right decision along the way, but he seems like he's learning. And I feel like a lot of stuff with Chelsea that has gone on maybe in the past like 5 years or so has all been on the pitch issue. Maybe we didn't have enough talent, or maybe sometimes the football wasn't good or that kind of stuff. But you rarely see at Chelsea the way it's happened twice with United now, where players have now publicly come out to speak against the club. We saw with Ronaldo, and we've just seen it yesterday with Sancho, when the manager makes a comment and he's quick to come out. And obviously, I understand Ten Hag does something publicly, Sancho wants to reply publicly as well. But then we've seen managers that have taken the piss in public so many times, and the players will try and solve behind the door, be like, I don't understand, or maybe wait till he leaves the club before he says something. And as I said before, with Chelsea, we've shown it time and time over the years that if something isn't working, we're willing to keep on changing it till it works. I feel like United have that thing of, and it's good to have stability, but as I said earlier, if Rashford and Bruno are your corner piece of the franchise, you won't win. They're those strikers and players that's willing to take any sort of risk, and they've yo-yo too much. Like they'll finish finishing second in the league 1 year, and then they'll finish outside the top four. They'll do second or third, they'll finish outside the top four, and that's when people last season were trying to say, "Oh, but it was Ronaldo that was holding his team back, blah blah, because of his age and not pressing, blah blah." I didn't buy it because we've seen it before. In Mourinho, they finished second, they fell off outside the top four. They've done the same with Ole. When they finished second, they finished outside the top four. They're going to do the same, I feel, with Ten Hag as well. Where they finish third, they're going to finish outside the top four. So I feel like they will probably be in, and they don't have that same recent Champions League pedigree that Chelsea have had, or the same European pedigree. So I do feel like it's a situation where there's a lot of stuff that United need to fix from the top than Chelsea do.
No, 100%. I don't agree with everything you guys said, but I do believe it is Man United. I do believe Chelsea have kind of got a blueprint of what they're trying.
What do you agree with?
No. Just wait. Let me land. You didn't hear what I said. All I said is I agree with but I'm saying yes. United are in the worst position, but I do think Chelsea, they're trying to build something, and they have an ethos of what they're trying to do. But we still have to wait and see what Todd Bowley does after he's fulfilled spending that commitment of 1.2 billion. Because once he's hit that commitment, is he going to continue to keep spending, or is he going to say, I've spent what I've been obliged to do, now work with the parameters where we're at? So on that part, we have to wait and see. But Chelsea, we're seeing they've got a structure of what they're trying to do. Man United, there's no structure in terms of what people perceive Ten Hag to be based on Ajax. When he's come to the Premier League and United, he's saying he wants to be the best transition team. But like what Richard said, if your best two players are Rashford and Fernandes, is very different, because we've seen the best transition team in the last years that have played on just individuals, which has been Real Madrid. But they've got certain echelons of players. They've got Vinny, they got Rodrigo, they got Benzema at that time. They had Valverde, Modric, Casemiro, Cruz. So if you're playing as a counter-attacking or transition team with those players, it's going to be easy, because it's individualism that's dominating everything. So I don't think United, in terms of their recruitment, are at that level where they can say, we're trying to be the best transition team in the world, and your best players is Rashford and Fernandes. So
low
United
IQ.
What's that?
I said low IQ players.
There you go. So in terms of United, they've got a long way to go, because I still don't know what Ten Hag's trying to build. A lot of the players that he's buying are players that he's managed or are from Holland, and it seems he's not changing. And it seems look, he's got agendas. Me, I'm a big Sancho fan, and I always said when he was going to United at that time, it was the wrong decision, because the style of play was under Oli. It was counter-attacking. That's not necessarily Sancho's best forte. And two, at that time, the team was in, or the club was in turmoil. For me, the best move for Sancho would have been going to a Liverpool or a Chelsea at that time. The three teams were interested. He was never going to go back to City because of he'd left there and that situation had gone cold. He was never going to go there. But he went to United and it just hasn't worked out. Yes, he's had some opportunities, but he hasn't also been given the grace as some other players. But yeah, long story short, United have got a lot of work to do, because they've spent money, but you look at that team, there's no one there that I'm like, oh yeah, great. Their best player is a player that's come through their academy, Rashford, in terms of big game player. And then the other player you bought, you spent money on him, but when you look at his stats against the big boys, he's not doing what you expect him to do. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
No, fair enough. I said it'll be interesting to see how the season progresses, because I mean, with all the panic that we're seeing from everyone, I mean, at the end of the day, it's only just 4 games, so the season isn't done by any stretch. But I just hope that we see big improvement from Chelsea come back, and obviously more people come back from the injuries. Just switching sports quickly before we do go. I know they can see my hands, but basically that is 10 wins in a row for Max Verstappen as Red Bull Racing dominant continues. And they've now won, is it 13 races?
Yeah, I believe it's 12.
Because I think it's 12, because I think Perez has only won 2 races this year. So no, actually no, it'll be 13. Which means
it's either 12 or 13.
Perez sucks, man. Anyways, yeah, Red Bull have won 13 races in a row, and obviously Abbas isn't here to defend his GOAT, even though he's not the GOAT by any measure. But What do you make of that record of 10 wins in a row, breaking Vettel's 9 wins?
I don't like it because there's, do you know what it is? It's everything in life. When it's going for you, it's great. When it's going against you, it's not great. Because if we was to put Christian Horner in Toto's situation, he'll be telling the whole world this is not great for the sport. You can't have one guy winning 10 races in a row in a field of 20. That's crazy. Like, you're not seeing that happen in any other sport in terms of race by race, like winning a tournament every single week or whenever you play a new tournament, you win because every racetrack's different. So me personally, I don't like it. People are going to say I'm biased because I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan. But even when Lewis was dominating, we saw Toto say this and Lewis saying this, he had competition from his own teammate and as well as maybe one other driver from another team. And at the moment, Max hasn't got competition from no one. Like, Perez ain't trying to beat him. The Ferrari boys are trying to do it, but they just got reliability issues. Their car's not up to the same level as Red Bull. Me, I just don't like it because at the end of the day, when Lewis was dominating, there was an agenda that it's boring. No one likes a sport. Now Max is doing it. He's the GOAT. He's the best. He's in his prime.
Well, can I ask you this question then? Because you said that obviously, and maybe I can agree with to a certain extent, but you said obviously Max had no competition from everyone. But do you think it's a kind of thing as at the moment nobody can compete with him because of how great of a form he's on? Because as I said, we mentioned the whole Sergio Perez thing, and obviously I may have exaggerated earlier. Obviously, Perez is still a very good racer, but drivers will still compete with him. Like, he might end up overtaking you because he's finished second and he's been on the podium quite a lot because he's in Red Bull. But then he's not always finished second the way Verstappen has always finished first. So do you feel like is a thing whereas in there is just no competition out here for him to, and I'm not talking about in terms of winning championship, I'm talking about in terms of race wins or winning 10 in a row, because I mean there's times where Lewis Hamilton had no competition, but he's not winning 10. I don't even think he won 7 races in a row.
Exactly, but you still had a hungry driver that had a mentality that wanted to compete against Lewis. In Mercedes era, yes, Hamilton was winning all the races, but there wasn't a definitive number one driver. In this team now, this Red Bull team, we know the pecking order. Max, you're number one. Perez, you're number two to help. Because if you put Lando Norris, you put Alonso, you put Lewis in that Red Bull, is Max
Probably
winning
even
10 in a row?
No.
Is Max winning 10 in a row? Even Vettel in his prime, is Max winning 10 in a row? No way. Because them guys have got the dog in them. They're going to try and fight and compete.
Yeah, but now I get what you're saying, but my question is, no, the reason I'm asking, because obviously you say if you put them in the Red Bull, would they win 10 in a row? Would Max win 10 in a row? No, I 100% agree with you. What I'm saying is that the way he's winning 10 in a row, Perez is not coming second 10 times in a row, which is why I end up saying, is it not? Whereas the thing is, it's not just the car that Max actually just comes.
But it's like I said though, it's mentality though. Perez, if you look at his driving
style,
hold on.
I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that Perez might not be able to compete with him, but Perez is not the only driver on the grid. Like,
that's what I'm trying to say. But this is my whole point. The cars are not equal though. If I can't base it on these guys not winning. Yes, they're not going to win because they're not in a good car. If you put them in a comparable car, that's when you're going to have the parity. That's where they're going to be able to compete. Because if I'm driving the same car that my teammates got, why can't I match him? Because his mentality is not like that. The way the car's set up is Max is aggressive, he's faster, he's going to get the best out of it. Whereas Perez is all about managing tires, coming from the back, terrains, whether it's raining, whether it's dry, strategy. He's not trying to go out there and say, let me take off this guy's head. That's why I had to use the analogy of if you put these other guys in their car, because of their mindset, they're going to compete. Even a Rosberg, he was in the same car as Lewis, and he was battling with Lewis. Even Bottas, most of the time, Bottas was finishing second, and you saw issues where Lewis and Bottas were trying to fight, and they're saying, look, guys, we need both of you to finish. There's no point in you crashing each other in the first turn. That's how I see it.
Then can I ask a question then? Because a lot of people will say, obviously, because Red Bull is still the fastest car on the grid. Everyone always says Red Bull is still the fastest car on the grid, but it's not just all about the car because of what Verstappen is in. But the way you're making it sound is you make it sound like actually the Red Bull car is that far away from everyone else on the grid, and Perez is just not utilizing it properly.
Okay, cool. You started watching Formula One. Tell me the truth. Is that car miles ahead of the rest of the cars on the grid? You've started watching. You tell me, bro.
Again,
I'm
I
saying,
think it is ahead of the grid, but as I said, Perez sometimes makes me feel sometimes that it's not that far. That Max Verstappen is also getting more out of that car
well,
than
if you got time
and
now, go and check. Go and
and
check.
also can we just go back, because if we were just to go back to just the Dutch Grand Prix last year, whereas in they had the change of weather after lap one. Norris
Mhm.
lost out, Russell lost out. Like a lot of the top drivers, what people are in the top 5 or 6, they start end up towards the back. For some reason, it looks like no matter what conditions you give Max Verstappen or whatever, he just doesn't seem to make any mistakes and stuff. Because
But,
there have been races where conditions, if they were didn't go the right way for him, he could have missed out
yeah,
on
but
a race
conditions
win.
is always conditions. Max is never making that call. It's your strategy. It's that saying, okay, cool, we need to go on tires up this lap or whatever lap, or this is the out lap. This is what we're gonna do. So that's a bit of luck here and there. But my point is, if you go to Perez, whatever team he's been, tell me the car that he's been in that they've said, okay, you have to win, or he's been a number one driver. Most of the time, he's been number one driver in a car that doesn't need to win, and he's just using his talents to get podiums or finishing the top 5 or top 6. And then when he has been at a big team, he's never been number one. The last big team he was at before he got to Red Bull was McLaren, and he was a number 2 driver. And he was there for 1 season. They said, you're not good enough. Keep it moving. Then he went back to Sauber, and he was doing all this stuff for Sauber. So that's what I'm trying to say. He's got a small team mentality. Even if
That's last week. I think he's a mid-table
yeah, if you
driver.
put George Russell in that car, George Russell's competing against Verstappen. And I'm not even I'm taking out Lewis Hamilton. I'm just saying George Russell. George Russell's definitely competing.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. I think, but I just said I feel like is the bit above. I do think Perez is massively underperforming, because I do feel like he should be clear away in second place. Like second should be the minimum for Perez. And there's times that he's finished third. In the Dutch Grand Prix, he didn't even get on the podium and stuff like that. Just quickly switching over, because the way we talk about Perez, or where everyone's been talking about Perez this season, was kind of the same way I felt about Carlos Sainz last season, whereas he was a driver that seemed to make mistakes. He was never on the close level and stuff like that. And it's a thing, even though the car has gone a bit worse, I do believe he's taken it up another level this year, and he's earned my respect a bit more. And it doesn't even just going off yesterday. I remember the race against Austria, the amount of times he battled with Perez in a much quicker Red Bull. He's even beaten Leclerc on points so far this year, even though he's only been on 1 podium and Leclerc's been on 3 and stuff like that. I feel like his consistency has steadily been going, and I feel like maybe he's even starting to get the kind of recognition that I feel like he should be receiving from this season. Do you feel like he's a position where he's a bit underrated? Because mind you as well, when he got pole on Saturday, a lot of Ferrari fans were saying the wrong guys on pole and stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows the way even his own fans view him. So how do you feel about Carlos Sainz?
No, it is. It's so funny because Carlos Sainz is one of my favorite drivers. And I've always liked him for when he was at other teams, when he was at Renault and whatnot. Yes, yeah, sorry. And I always liked him. And there's always been that potential there. But what it is that he didn't grow up in the Ferrari drivers program, which Leclerc did and Jules Bianchi did. They were the guys that are always going to be the successors to go to Ferrari and trying to win a world championship. So now he's gone in there with Leclerc. Leclerc's always been that number one guy, and they've wanted him to be the number one driver, where Sainz has come into that team and said, I know you want him to be your number one, but I'm still going to try and compete with him. And that's one thing I do like. He's always tried to compete with Leclerc, even though he might make a mistake or reliability issues arise. He's always trying to do stuff. And I think it's good to kind of see that people are starting to give Carlos Sainz his flowers. It would be good if he could win more races, but as you know, the Ferrari team, for some reason, like the last couple of years, last 4 or 5 years, they're not built to win races. I don't know why. It's always reliability, or it's just not their luck. But I'm happy that he's obviously got the pole, and we've seen some greatness from him. But yeah, just being a Ferrari, he's never going to be their number one guy. The number one guy is always going to be Charles Leclerc. He was the star boy, the golden boy, anointed to win them their championship. So he's never going to get that adulation that Leclerc's getting anyway.
Yeah. Kojo thoughts? I'm joking. Look at our call off guard. No, doesn't watch Formula One, but yeah, 100%. I said agree. I think the
I like Lewis Hamilton though. How's he doing?
It's not great. Last 2 years hasn't been great, but we move.
No, Hamilton's on form. He's on form as well. I mean, it might not be good, but he's definitely on form as well.
He's not on the podium, right? He's not on the. Okay.
But he re-signed with Mercedes for another 2 years, so hopefully, Toto's promised him a better car, and he can be racing wheel to wheel with Verstappen in the near future.
Okay, what about Vettel?
Vettel,
yeah.
No, but there's no 2014 buddy. So
he retired.
Yeah.
When did he retire?
Last season, man.
Oh, that's why it's a recent thing. That's why, Richard. It's a recent thing.
Richard, get Kojo into F1, man.
Yeah.
My uncle's one of my uncles. He loves F1. Sometimes he comes over, watches. He used to watch it back in the day in my yard and that, but I just never cared for it. It's too much. It's too much.
I used to be like you.
I'll be real, yeah. No, it is. I don't hate F1 like. I don't say hate. I don't hate any sport like that. It's not like I look at the same way as American football. I don't look at the same way as American football. I look at it like, bro, this is a shit sport. Like, I can't be people watch this, isn't it? Like, it's not that type of like view I have on F1. But it's just like I don't see the passion that I'm going to grow into it. Because for me, I feel like why am I going to watch people driving on a circuit driving like for 40?
That's why I said I used to be like you.
You know what I'm saying?
What you need to do, like, you need to buy the game and understand it.
No, even that's long, bro. Just holding your pad and that, just hurting your fingers and that, and your thumbs and that's just long. Like, even
but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, what Formula One is who you have the best engineer. At the end of the day, when you really strip it down.
It's which company, which driving company, like McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, which one can construct the best cars, which can make the drivers drive faster than that. My uncle used to come in all the time and watch Formula One. He loved, like,
do you know what it is?
But
once you start watching it, you get indulged and intrigued by the storylines, but then also the cachet of the luxury. You're thinking, these guys, they're the Monaco Grand Prix.
It's money to get into.
Yeah, you start looking at it like, I can live this life, I can live this life, the high life. Yeah. But Kojo, don't you like NFL either? You don't rate NFL?
Boo!
No, I don't. Like, I watched the Super Bowl,
man. It's starting back on Thursday.
Like, I know. I see it because it's their promo. You know what it is with NFL, yeah. I can watch the Super Bowl and like kind of find it interesting because it's a one-off thing and there's a lot of hype towards it, especially recent years. Isn't it? Say again.
I said casual fan, yeah.
Not really.
That's even worse than being a casual.
NFL, I'll be real, like to just kind of wrap up here with NFL, yeah. Like, I don't think it's that bad as what I thought it would be like a couple of years ago. Like before, I'm like, this is a dead sport. Like, this is so Americanized. Like, I can't take these guys seriously. They call it football, and the balls have only been kicked with the foot like 3-4 times in play. I can't take these jokers seriously. Like, it's just dead sport, man. It's just rugby, just a piece of rugby. But when I actually watch it now, I can see why people do like it. But it will never be a situation where it will be a level of like basketball. Like, it will never be where I can get into it like basketball or I find it entertaining like basketball. For me, I'd watch it here and there. Like, if I'm bored on a Sunday night, I may stick it on Sky Sports Action. I may see Baltimore play against the Cincinnati Bengals, or I may see the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh.
Man knows the teams in that, yeah? Man said Baltimore against Bengals.
The Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. I may see them against the Detroit Lions or the Atlanta Falcons against,
you know,
the Chargers and that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a few players like Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, so you know your scope of NFL.
Yeah,
but again,
obviously, you know what I mean? Because I'm into basketball and that, and obviously, because of my social media engagement, I see a lot of NFL stuff popping up on my timeline here and there. And don't even pay attention to tough, but
Bleacher
I
Report
can just watch it here and there, like on a vague level. I can watch it here and there and kind of see what's going on. But I'll never look at it in a way where I see it as an elite sport where I can put on the tennis, a boxing, a football, a basketball, even a flex. I find a flex way more entertaining to watch than NFL. But it's grown on me on recent years. Like, it's not like 5 years ago. I'll be like, NFL is a shit sport. It's horrible. I don't know why people watch that. Like, Americans are just weird. It's so Americanized. But now I can respect it a bit and I can see the excitement. But it's not to the level where I can say, you know what, I'm going to watch it week in, week out, probably a fan of it. start learning the rules and that, and start calling it football. If I'm in America, I always call it American football. I'll never have that love for it like that. It's too Americanized. It's just too stop and start. And yeah, man, yeah.
I've said it before. Give me 2 years of very much hard work and dedication, and I can play in the NFL. But that is all we do have time for today.
Bro, Richard, you fit in, bro. I'll be real, like. You right now, you look at 3 NFL players right now. I'm saying maybe the running backs.
Let me be one of those. Not the running back. Let me be one of those. You see the blockers, the one that protect the quarterback,
defensive end, O-line, offensive line, and that.
Yeah. Let me be one of those. But all you have to do is just hold them, and they're not getting through. I said, how hard can that be? Really, truly. So, but
Say
I don't
less.
know. I might put my test through one day and see if I actually want to be in the NFL or not. But as you see, that's all we do have time for today. So thank you for tuning in to another episode. As you can see, it's been scrolling along at the bottom. Sam and Kodo's social media will be in the description below. I think I said it right. And follow us on all social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at outbound_UK. And until next week, thank you for watching. Stay blessed.
Take care, guys.
Take it easy, man.